I'm legally insane, and I'm hearing popular YouTubers try to tell you that the NES prices are crashing, that we hit peak demand back between 2014 and 2018, and prices have gone nowhere but down since that time. Ain't nobody buying NES games. Well, we're going to be talking about NES games, but we're also going to be talking about the retro game market in general. Is any of this true? And I'm bringing the receipts to prove it. This is something that no other YouTuber does. Nobody does. They just pull garbage out of their ass. They point the camera in front of their face, and actual retards with an IQ under 69, because I have an IQ of exactly 69, so I think I know exactly what I'm talking about.
What did he say?
These people will blindly listen to anything these YouTubers tell them. These are YouTubers with a lot more subscribers than I have, buddy. Okay, they would just listen to whatever they say blindly without doing any research. So if a YouTuber says, ain't nobody buying NES games or retro game prices are crashing, they just eat up every word. Well, let's talk about it, and we're going to focus on the NES today. We're not going to do a deep dive on why retro game prices may or may not be going up, but we are going to touch on some of the reasons why. I've done a deep dive before in previous videos. This is not what this is. We're focusing on the NES. Let's get started. I don't have a script, so I'll do my best to organize my thoughts, because I do have several different topics that I do want to touch on. But first, let's address the elephant in the room. The reason why I'm making this video today. I blurred out the username because I don't want people bashing this guy. He might even be a subscriber to my channel. So I don't want you to take this too personal. But this is a great example. This is a great comment. This user made this comment on my GameCube prices video, where I was telling people backing it up with the receipts, the actual facts and the evidence that nobody else seems to do. Nobody else seems to do any research these days. Well, I was talking about how GameCube prices have not come down. GameCube demand is not dropping. Just because you can find Kirby's Air Ride at GameStop, just because it's in stock at GameStop, doesn't mean the prices are going down or that demand has dropped. So that's what led to this NES videos. This user says it makes sense. He's talking about my other video, which I don't actually think he watched the video, by the way. The comment kind of suggests that he never even watched it in the first place. But he says, look at the NES. Nobody talks about it anymore. And we'll talk about that too, by the way. We'll talk about that. Because he's not necessarily wrong. But I'm going to factor in everything's coming out. We're going into a deep dive. Then he says NES prices have dropped considerably since 2014 to 2018. Since the 2014 to 2018 hype. Now, he did edit this. I thought I had read he might have changed it since the last time I read it. I thought he said something about peak demand, but regardless, that's the same thing. Prices have dropped considerably since 2014 to 2018. If you're a seasoned collector like myself, you would know that the NES was all the rage on YouTube, all the rage at the conventions. Every YouTuber and their mother was making NES videos during that era, and more, even before that era. Angry Video Game Nerd, peak era, right? That was peak NES demand. He does make a comment here. He says, I really don't see people grabbing games older than that. So he listed a bunch of consoles. Games older than that would include NES games, which is our focus today. He doesn't think people are picking up these older generation games prior to the PS3 360 era, which includes GameCube, by the way. He says, I think it's because collectors have got what they wanted. Great comment. Also, loads of new people coming into the retro scene all the time. They want something familiar and recent. Okay, great comment. Then it says it makes sense that all those games are really cheap to buy and own. He's talking about these magical NES games that are apparently very, very cheap, including GameCube games, which are apparently very cheap because a YouTuber told him so. And millions of people believe what the YouTuber tells them, backed with absolutely zero evidence. And then he seems to think that the only reason Kirby Air Ride is up is because a sequel was announced, but the Kirby Air Ride was up way before the sequel was announced. Okay, so that's what led to this video. I'm picking on this particular user, but millions of people think this way. So let's find out if NES prices have actually dropped since that peak era of 2014, or supposedly peak era 2014 to 2018. Let's see if there's any truth to that, because we can put this to rest right now by looking at the actual data. We're addressing the elephant in the room straight out of the gate. This is the index of all NES prices combined. This is from price charting. Goes all the way back to 2008. So if we look at the 2014 to 2018 era and we pick the highest peak, we're looking at roughly an average of, the peak was in April of 2018. So there was a pretty strong demand back then, and the average NES game price back then was $27.61 US dollars. As you can see, things, started to dip down a little bit, but not much, stuck in a small trading range right up until about 2020. We had the COVID boom. And prices didn't just stop rising in 2021. They didn't just stop rising in 2022. They kept on going. As a matter of fact, they didn't hit their all-time high until 2023. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but that seems like it's a date that's kind of higher than 2018, because I was told that because no YouTubers are talking about NES anymore, because apparently after the market gets saturated to hell and back on YouTube with everyone talking about NES games, apparently NES games are just supposed to be the most popular thing forever on YouTube. Just like PewDiePie is supposed to be the top YouTuber, right? Has anyone even heard of PewDiePie these days? Do younger kids even know who PewDiePie is? Because nobody stays at the top forever. Okay, you're not just going to talk about NES games for 50 years. I'm not even going to watch those videos, and I love NES. I love NES videos. But I'm not going to sit there and watch NES videos for the rest of my life. I want to see other stuff. I've already watched all the videos on NES reviews and everything related to NES game collecting. I want to watch something else. Okay? I don't want to watch the same movie over and over again just because it's a good movie. RoboCop is a great movie. Rambo is a great movie. But I don't want to sit there and watch Rambo for 30 hours. Hell, I already seen Rambo like 3 times. That's more than enough. Maybe even 4 times. I don't want to watch it a 5th time. So prices peaked at $47.66 back in 2023. They dipped down. And during this dip period, you would have seen retards on YouTube screaming that the prices are crashing. Well, I've been hearing that for 20 years. Still waiting. I'm still waiting, because it looks to me like the long-term trend is up. As a matter of fact, after that big giant crash that the YouTubers would have been screaming about, and the retard sheep would just listen and say, "Oh wow, they're finally crashing. Can't wait to get my little Samson for $50. Oh, I've been waiting a long time." Yeah, you're going to be waiting a long time still. You're going to be dead before you see it at $50. You will be long dead. Your children are going to be dead too. Well, kind of fizzled out, dipped down to 41.16 and appears to be going back up. It's 2025, it's almost 2026, and people are buying NES games? How could that possibly be? How is that possible? I thought people were only collecting modern games. What's going on here? Somebody on YouTube told this retard that that's what was happening. When he goes to the gaming conventions, he doesn't see anybody buying the NES games. He says they're looking up the modern stuff. So why are the prices going up? I want to address another comment that I commonly see some YouTubers. My subscribers are subscribed to a lot of these YouTubers. One in particular that I pick on, I deliberately do not say his name because I don't want people to bash. I'm not a fan of bashing other YouTubers in the comment section or that sort of thing. I don't want anyone to think negatively about some other YouTuber. I'm just showing you the data and I'm showing you how I think. You're allowed to think another way, but I'm only looking at the data. The data tells me otherwise. But a common thing is that a YouTuber will say, "Oh, well, nobody's buying these games because when I go to my retro game store, I see an $800 game sitting on the shelf. Nobody's buying it. 800 US dollars. That's like 10 million Canadian dollars. I'm Canadian. Nobody's buying it. I see a bunch of Neo Geo games on the shelf for $800. Nobody's buying it. It's been sitting on the shelf for 6 months. It must be that the prices are crashing. Here's an Othello for the NES, complete in box, and then nobody's buying it in the retro game store." Okay, well, maybe Othello's not the best example, but maybe that is a good example. Because here's the thing with expensive niche titles. These are very niche games. Complete in box NES, complete in box Atari Jaguar, complete in box Neo Geo, all of these retro games. We're talking expensive. The more expensive a game gets, the more niche it becomes. Supply and demand. The reason why that game is 800 US dollars is because demand is so high that the price had to come up to balance supply and demand. The price goes up, so the demand was up here, price down here. Well, the price had to go up, and as the price goes up, demand comes down, and they met in the middle, equilibrium. Supply and demand determines the price. And the higher the price is, the more niche that item is. Less demand. The demand is significantly lower on a $1,000 game on average than it is on a $50 game, $25 game, $10 game. Halo, for example. Halo on the OG Xbox, even the Xbox 360. Dirt common. It's common as sand in Saudi Arabia. That's how common that game is. But it also sells commonly as well. It sells all day, every day. You'd think everybody already has Halo, but they don't. Same with Mario 3 on the NES. That thing sells all day, every day, even today, 2025. So when I hear a YouTuber say, "Oh, I see this really rare game sitting on a shelf at my local store." Yeah, that's because it's niche. You have to be patient to sell that game. You need the right buyer. And guess what? A local game store, like I'll use the game store in my town. I'm in a smaller town, especially. Let's say you dropped off $100,000 of CIB garbage NES games, complete in box. Those are very niche, especially if it's garbage games. Like who wants, I don't know, what's Othello? Like going back to Othello, I guess. How many people want Othello CIB? I'm telling nobody wants Othello CIB, and I own Othello. I got the loose cart, though. You couldn't pay me to get it CIB. I could care less. And I'm one of the only people that even probably want a loose copy of Othello. It's a fun 2-player game. It's just it's Othello. I mean, pretty simple. Just get the actual board game. It's probably funner than the NES game anyway. But if my retro game store in this smaller city spent $100,000 on these games, they would sit on a shelf because his market is local. With niche items like that, you got to go global. That's what eBay is for. Global. A retro game store does not want they don't want to spend $100,000 on your CIB games. That doesn't mean nobody wants them. That doesn't mean that there's no demand for these games. It just means that it's a niche market. You're better off going on eBay for certain items that are harder to sell, and you need to be patient on top of that. I'm going to be jumping around topic-wise here, but I have sold very expensive, very oddball, very less desirable rare games on eBay before. I know that I've had games, and I don't remember which games in particular, but I have had games on eBay sit for 12 months. I know for a fact at least 12 months. So 1 year I've had games sitting on there. And I didn't underprice them. You know, the cheaper you go, the higher the odds that you'll find a buyer quicker. I had it fair market value, and it took about a year to sell. I've even sold the same goes for any collectible. For example, I sold a Dark Souls 3 keychain that I got at EB Games for free. That's GameStop. For free. Probably around the time that Dark Souls 3 came out. They were giving them out in a basket. I walked in there. I said, "Hey, can I have one? What are these doing here? Can I have one?" And he says, "Oh yeah, you can have one." I took it. I said, "Thank you very much." I threw it on eBay. It took me 3 years to sell it. But guess what? I sold it for $15.95. That's all money in my pocket because it was free. Pretty good return, but it was such a niche item that I had to wait 3 years to get the damn sale. I do want to mention another reason why a store would benefit from selling on eBay rather than, say, giving you $100,000 for your garbage, very niche, in some cases rare and expensive games like a Neo Geo game. You know, I think in my town you're gonna have a hard time selling Neo Geo games at a local store, local retro game store. They're not very popular here in my city. You're probably better off going on eBay. Let's say they gave you $100,000 for your Neo Geo collection. Well, that money, that's $100,000 out of their pocket for an item that's going to sit on the shelf for a while before it sells. And some of those games might not sell for a long time. You know, garbage sports games, whatever it may be, those are going to be harder to sell. Whereas if you have Little Samson, going to be a little bit easier to sell at least. You got a rare Silent Hill game, very expensive Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3, any Silent Hill game, those are going to sell, even if they're $500. Some of them are $500. Silent Hill Shattered Memories, PS2, what's that, 500 Canadian? Probably about that. I mean, you're going to sell that. It's going to fly off the shelf in a reasonable amount of time. Well, that's opportunity cost to the store as well, right? They got rent to pay. They got employees to pay. What stores excel in, because I see this popular YouTuber mention all the time, oh, the stores don't want my rare game because it's going to sit on the shelf for 12 months, 6 months, 12 months. No one's buying it. They just want Mario. Yeah, they want Mario because Mario sells. They can pay their rent immediately. That's called shop stock. It's the bread and butter of the entire physical retro game store business. That's what keeps them going. That's what keeps the rent paid every single month. And these other items like a Little Samson, they can make more profit, but they have to wait longer to get it. They have to wait and be patient and wait for the right buyer. Whereas Mario, the right buyer's coming in tomorrow. Certain games are just going to sell. Buyer is coming in literally tomorrow. You know, Chrono Trigger. Somebody's going to buy Chrono Trigger. I don't care what you say, somebody's going to buy it eventually. I don't care how expensive it is. Somebody's going to buy it, and you know it's going to sell. Certain games are just going to sell. They're popular. I even see Call of Duty games selling all the time, even older Call of Duty. In fact, when I was at Home Tech Games in Victoria, BC, not that long ago, they had a phone order come in. Some guy ordered like 3 or 4 Call of Duty games all at once for Xbox 360. He probably phoned him up and said, "What Call of Duty games do you have? I'll take them all." And the store owner took them off the shelf right in front of me. You know, the Call of Duty is going to sell faster than some of these Neo Geo games. Now, I initially made a list of 50 games. I'm not going to show you all 50. I literally was browsing the list of NES games, and I just clicked on the 50 that I was most interested in seeing what the chart looks like. So we're going to get a mix of charts that have reached just about all-time highs, if not all-time highs, in recent times, such as Little Samson. But we're also going to be looking at some games that have actually gone down in value, or may have gone down in value since they peaked out in 2018. Here's Little Samson. The infamous Little Samson is pretty close to its all-time high. It hit a peak in April 2023. $2,700 currently trades for $24.45 US. Not too far off from its all-time high, But yet I was told that the prices are crashing. Nobody's buying NES games. But here's the thing. What you people don't get, what the actual retards don't understand, is that if I have Little Samson in my shelf, on my shelf right now, I'm part of the demand side of the equation. I count as the demand for this game. I am not selling my Little Samson, not that I actually own it. I would like to own it, but I can't afford it. And I don't bitch and whine about not being able to afford it because I could have bought it for $100 and I turned it down. Just like any one of you could have bought it for significantly cheaper over the last 20 years. And none of you did. Just because you don't see YouTubers and all this demand at the conventions, well, you got to understand, number one, nobody's going for full sets anymore. But number two, ain't nobody selling. That's demand. All these people with NES games like me right behind me, I ain't selling my NES games because I want my NES games, meaning I have demand for NES games. In fact, I'm still buying every now and then NES games to this day. That is demand. How many people out there have NES games sitting in their house right now? The fact that you are not selling the NES game says you are contributing to the prices going higher because you are not selling. When people like me start to sell, when all us old timers, if we ever flood the market, decide that, hey, I need to sell, I don't want these games anymore, I hate the NES, I'm done with the NES. If we all decide that we don't want these games anymore, then guess what? The prices are going to go down. If that happens, yes, the prices will go down. If too many sellers flood into the market, previous people that were on the demand side of the equation, if we start flooding the market because we don't want these games anymore, at that point, the prices will likely have to come down. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to go down to $50, but they're going to go down, and we'll see how much they go down. How much, at what price will new buyers come into the market? We don't know yet. That's a 20, 30 years down the road before that even comes up as a topic. We're not going to experience that for 20, 30 years from now. I know for me, I'm never selling my game. I'm taking them to the grave. I'm going to be playing these games in my retirement. So I'm not selling them when I retire. When I turn 65, I ain't selling them. It'll have to be after I'm dead. My kids will have to sell them. We're going to rapid fire through the rest of these. Here's Power Blade 2, yet another NES game hitting all-time highs. All-time highs. And yet, I've literally seen YouTubers, they'll watch this dip happen. See hit that peak in 2023. They'll watch the dip. Look, it's dipping. It's 1 year later. 1 year later, she's still dipping. They'll be screaming about how the prices are finally crashing because the games are too expensive. Get all the retards in the comment section. These games are too expensive. I can't afford them. The prices have to come down because they're too expensive. Okay, well, nothing goes straight up, nothing goes straight down. When has that ever happened? Have you ever seen a stock market chart or collectible chart in your entire life? They have corrections. They don't go straight up, they don't go straight down. Almost at the all-time high yet again. Power Blade 2. If you think I was kidding about people bitching and whining about the prices, let's go through some of the comments that I found. These are just random comments out of millions of potential comments. This guy says, I'm broke and I refuse to pay. I mean, at least he's admitting he's broke. He says, I'm broke and I refuse to pay $100 for something as common as a PS2. And we are going into a recession. That's what he says 3 weeks ago. After 6 months of straight all-time highs in the stock market. Every time the stock market dips, all the panicins come out. They start freaking out. Oh, we're going down to zero. We're going down to zero. Well, go look at a 200-year chart of the stock market. The thing only goes up. You just got to wait. You got to be patient. He says, I really hope prices crash down because he's broke. Because the prices for this old stuff is not okay. So here we have standard 101 brokey on YouTube. There's millions of these guys. But my point is, he's admitting he's broke. He's been priced out of the market. I've been priced out of the market too. That's normal. The reason why you've been priced out of the market is because you want to buy these games. You refuse to pay 100, but you'll sure as hell pay 50. But you and 50 other million people want to pay $50 for that Silent Hill game too. And so you are the exact reason the prices have gone up, because you want to buy this game. Well, I want to buy it too. We all want to buy it. So we got to price out the brokies. You caused the price to go up. You, the brokey, you might be broke. You didn't even buy the game, but you are the cause of it going up. That's what you people don't understand. You are part of the demand side of the equation. Brokey number 2 says, hope it crash hard so I can get all the games I'm missing for cheap. Yet he still doesn't get it. That's exactly why they'll never be cheap. You and everyone and their mother wants to buy Little Samson for $50. Everybody wants to buy Little Silent Hill 2 for the PlayStation 2 for $25. Everybody wants it. I'll buy 69 copies at $25. Now, this guy's not a brokey. He's a little bit of a smarter collector. As a collector, please let it crash. My wallet could use a break whenever I want to buy Sega Dreamcast games. I would love to buy D2 and Illbleed for the Sega Dreamcast. So I agree. Hey, if you guys want to crash D2 and Illbleed down to $5, I'll happily buy 10 copies. Because I don't own those games and I want to own them, but I've been priced out. I don't have the money. Now, if I get the money, if I get more disposable income later, I will purchase them. Brokey number 3 has some spelling errors, but I think what he's saying here is I'm afraid video games will crash to DVD and Blu-ray selling prices. I think that's what he's trying to say. He says, my retro store will give you 25 cents and 50 cents for your crashed price games and resell them at $1 or $2. If you're afraid that that's actually going to happen, you're retarded and you've been listening to actual retards.
You went full retard, man.
Brokey number 4 says, can the market just crash already? So many people are in this hobby only for the money and don't actually care about the games. They don't deserve to have the games, and I just want to see reasonable prices again like how it was before. So not only is this guy a brokey, but he's also a complete retard. Do you see a theme here?
Never go full retard.
Here's what this guy also doesn't understand. It's, guess what? The people who are paying these money for these rare retro games or expensive retro games in general, they're not in it for the money. They actually genuinely enjoy the hobby. They genuinely have a passion for these games. They have a passion for collecting. They have a passion for NES games like Little Samson. They grew up playing these games in most cases. They are actually more passionate gamers than you are. They're so passionate about these games and they love these games so much that they're willing to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for these games. I'm willing to pay $500 for some of these rare and expensive Super Nintendo games. I paid, I try to get them for as cheap as I can. I get them before the prices go up because I actually have an IQ of 69, unlike you, who's definitely under 69. But when I don't have the money or I miss the boat on some of these games, I will fork over the money because I'm more passionate than you are. You're just a dumb retard brokey who thinks that you're going to get these games for garage sale pricing, not understanding that the garage sale days are over. Okay, many factors have changed since then, including the invention of everybody having the internet and eBay on their cell phones. They can find out the price of what they have. Even mothers who know nothing about gaming can easily look up the price of a game that they have and realize it's not worth 50 cents. Accessibility to information has also played a role in price increases, including other factors like inflation, M2 money supply. Brokey number 5 says, I still have a long list of games I'd like to go get, but nowadays I can't get anything half decent below $50. Some of the games are even starting at $100. I hate this hobby now. That's what he says. He hates the hobby because he can't get garage sale pricing. I hate this hobby now. It went crazy around 2020, and I sold too much of my stuff in 2018 due to a breakup. Now I can't buy back a lot of the games. Well, the fact that you sold the games, I understand you had some certain circumstances involved, but that's on you. You should have known the prices would only go up. Maybe you could have done something to avoid selling them. Maybe you could have dropped them off at a family member's house, store them there. Depending on what you had, maybe it would have been worth it to temporarily get a storage unit, throw them in the trunk of your car, do something, do whatever you can to avoid selling them. You didn't see me sell my Super Nintendo games for $25 for the whole lot of them back in 2009. I didn't do that because I'm not retarded. I was buying Super Nintendo games back in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2025. I'm still buying Super Nintendo games. Here's a smart commenter. This guy gets it. He wrote this comment on that YouTuber that I'm talking about that shall not be named. Says, every day there's a crash. Because this YouTuber makes a video every single month about the prices crashing, the prices coming down. How about you talk about the long-term trend and educate your viewers so that they can make an educated decision if they want to purchase a game or not? Are they going to bite the bullet, pay the $100? Does it look like the trend is rising and that it will continue to rise? Then they can make an informed decision whether it's a good idea to buy or not. Is it a good idea to wait? Does it look like it is dipping, like it should, that it's going to dip further? You know, you're counting your pennies. You've got a limited funds. Well, you've got to really pick and choose your battles. You've got to pick the games that you desire the most and that make the most financial sense to sell or buy. Either or. Right? You gotta pick more desirable games or the games that make financial sense. The ones that are at risk of perhaps doubling, tripling, quadrupling in the future. Might want to pick up those ones today. Maybe put some of those common games on hold. Drop a couple of games. Maybe a little Samson's out of your league. Why are you even bothering? I'm never going to buy it. I refuse to pay these prices. I get it. I'm not making fun of brokies. What you guys don't understand. I'm not bashing the brokies. I'm a brokey. I'm broke too. I'm just not retarded. That's the only difference between us. I'm just as broke as you are. I got nothing. I have $0 in the bank. I'm selling some of my doubles just to raise money to go buy more games. Like, I'm desperate. I got nothing. I haven't washed my car in 5 years. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. I made a video about that. I literally have not washed my car and I never will. I refuse to wash my car because I ain't going to spend one dime on car soap. I'm not going to do it manually. I'm not going to go pay for one of the services. I'm not going to put my money in the machine that sprays the water and the soap and all that stuff and you scrub your windows. I'm never going to do that. I don't care. What a waste of money. I want to buy rare retro games with my money. You're going to have to figure out how you want to spend your money. Budget yourself. And if the hobby's too expensive for you, then get out of the hobby. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. Go emulate. That's what emulation's for. Now we're talking about the smart comments here. These are the smart people that have some brain cells. This guy says, it seems like stuff is starting to come down. 3 weeks ago. I think it's more of a correction than anything. Things were way too crazy and it was unsustainable, to be honest. See, this guy gets it. So even if the certain prices or certain consoles are actually dipping down in price at present time, based on history, it's going to be a correction. It ain't going to be a crash. And it's not going to be an overly large correction. You're not going to see Little Samson come down to $250, which is still pretty darn expensive. Imagine Little Samson Power Play 2 going to $250. It ain't going to happen. You're going to need a Great Depression for that to happen. Great Depression. And if and when that happens, yes, that's your only scenario. Don't bet the farm. You've been waiting since 1929 for the Great Depression 2.0. 1929, buddy. You think it's going to come tomorrow? Because it ain't. Here's another smart commenter with an IQ of perhaps even 69. Nothing is permanent. All of these games have been bought and sold before. The only reason we were able to collect used games is because someone decided they didn't want it anymore for whatever reason. So if I sell my little Samson, I am the guy deciding I don't want it. But guess what? Somebody does want it. That's why they bought it from me. One day we won't want it and someone else would buy it. I'm old enough to remember when people were dumping NES games because GameStop didn't want them. He says, back then nobody wanted these old games. That's why GameStop was not even accepting them. Nobody wanted them. Just to see 15 years later, everybody and their mother, including your mother and John Bunday's mother. That woman is a saint. I go to her every Friday night. I bring a $10 bill. 15 years later, everybody wants the games. And guess what? It's now 2025. Everybody still wants them. That's why the prices are going up. I'm going to rapid fire through a whole bunch of these. Zen Intergalactic Ninja, once again, all-time high. And I will show you ones going down too. I'm not cherry picking just the all-time high games. Just showing you 2025. This is pretty significant. Toxic Crusaders, all-time high yet again. $125 US loot cart. Here's a familiar game, Adventure Island 3. Just about all-time high. Still climbing. Significantly higher than the previous highs of 2018, 2017. Yet, nobody's buying NES games? Kind of strange, isn't it? Well, somebody like me would actually love to have Adventure Island 3 in my collection right now. I don't have it. This is actually on my bucket list. This is on my buy list if I ever get the money to afford it, because there's a lot of different games that I would like to have. This is one of them. If and when I get the money, I'll pay the $80. I'll pay it. Somebody just paid $95 US right here. I'll pay $100. Good label? $100 US right now for good label if I had the money. Monster in My Pocket, another all-time high, $77 US game. This is another game I would like to buy and that I should have bought 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's been on my buy list and I never bit the bullet. Konami game. That's on me. I don't bitch and whine about the price going up. Yeah, I wish it was still $5. Yeah, I wish it was still $25 when I could have bought it 10 years ago. Oh, the stupid resellers caused the price to go up. No, you caused the price to go up because you want to own it in your collection. Every single person that puts it on a shelf in their collection that wants to play this game on an NES console, you caused the price to go up. And I'm not even somebody that bought the game. I didn't cause the price to go up because I never bought it. But guess what? I am going to buy it eventually, and I'm going to be contributing to the price going up. Even common games, dirt common games, Kirby's Adventure, just about at an all-time high. Definitely higher than 2018, 2017. Definitely higher than the previous peak in 2016 at $21.50. Currently trades for $26.83 US. Recently hit highs as high as $32 US in March of 2024. Not that long ago. Sells all day, every day. All day, every day, and there are plenty of alternative ways to play this game. Another common game, dirt common, Tiny Toons Adventure. I used to see this game on every street corner. All my friends owned it. Everybody had it. Tiny Toons was king of the world. This dirt common game previously peaked out at $15 US, round up. Well, even this game is higher than that, $15.99, and the chart looks pretty good. You take a line here, you draw a line going to over here. That's a straight line up. Slow and steady. Nothing goes straight up, nothing goes straight down. It dipped down, had a big old correction. Here's Shadow of the Ninja. I thought this would be an interesting one to mention because there was the Nintendo Switch remake, and yet demand for the NES version continues to rise. Great game, hidden gem. Such a good game that they remade it on the Switch. Once again, hitting all-time highs. I've mixed in common games and rare games. I'm focusing more heavily on the common games just to show you the trend. It's not just super rare games. The percentage increases are significantly higher on rare games, but even common games are more expensive today, like Batman for the NES Sunsoft. Incredibly common, dirt common in fact, and yet it is still reaching all-time highs. Because people are buying NES games. That's what happens when demand is higher than supply. Also what happens when you print money and inflation occurs. $5 today ain't worth $5 20 years ago. Last Starfighter on the NES. I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's based on a movie or if it's a shoot 'em up. I would like to get this game myself. Once again, all-time highs. All-time highs right now today. 2025. October 2025. Go to a Dirt Common game. Jackal for the NES. Dirt Common. Chart looks good. Definitely higher than it used to be. The old high was roughly 1159. Currently trades 1361. Yeah, it's not too much higher. Percentage-wise, that's probably not too big, considering the time frame that's happened. But the point is, the price is higher, even for this Dirt Common game. Very fun game, but it's fun enough that it's sought after enough that the price has actually gone up. Here's Yoshi for the NES, one of my favorite puzzle games ever made. And even this game, another all-time high, just about today, right now. Previously hit the all-time high August 2024, one just over a year ago. Here's an interesting example. This is Gemfire for the NES. This is an inferior version of the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis version. This version is actual garbage compared to the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Yet people are still buying it. Somebody just paid September 1st, $170. Probably it was good condition. Price charts for $136. Chart still looks good. Major correction come in from the highs in 2023. Dipping down. Have we found a new floor? Looks like there's support around 130 US dollars. This is a pretty decent support line. Currently creating support around here. But this is a game that you would probably think nobody would want. I have the Super Nintendo version. It's significantly better. But people collect for the NES. And they're willing to buy a rare game like this. Even if it's inferior, they still want it. I don't want it. I'm not one of those people, but they exist. Here's Color Dinosaur. Guess what? This game is complete garbage. It's a coloring game for 3-year-olds. Are you a 3-year-old retard and you actually want to color a dinosaur? If you think that's why people are buying the game, you might be the retard instead of the guy buying the game. In fact, I mean, the guy buying the game might be retarded too. You both might be retarded because this is a pretty bad game, but it sells. Shockingly, I know it's very shocking. It's a very rare game. It's genuinely rare. It's got a little bit of nostalgia from probably an Angry Video Game Nerd episode, I'm pretty sure. At the NES Punk, somebody's got this game floating around in one of those famous YouTube episodes. But even 10 years, 15 years after that episode aired, it's still popular today amongst collectors. Collectors that have more money than me or you. Talking about niche games, here's one Caltron 6-in-1. This thing barely ever sells because it's incredibly niche and yet it's incredibly rare. In 2025, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sold listings, and that's probably considered pretty high. Five sold copies in an entire year. So it doesn't sell. Not super common that this thing sells. And I bet you the CIBs are even less. Yeah, the CIB is so niche that it had 2 sales in 2024 and 1, 2, 3 sales in 2023. That's how niche this game is. But once again, it's rare and there is a market for it. Somebody will buy it. And they paid a lot of money for it. $510. They paid over the price charting price because condition plays a role. What's available on the market at the time? Maybe this was the only copy available on the market at the time. Or maybe it was the only good condition copy at the time. Or maybe it was actually the cheapest because next guy is trying to get 600 or 700 and the market just isn't willing to go that high yet. Even Tennis, this complete garbage, black label, probably launch title game, actually reached an all-time high just recently, $10.35 at present time. It recently hit higher than its peak of January 2018, and currently trades for even higher. This is like dirt common, and you'd think that nobody wants it, but for whatever reason, people are buying it. Shockingly sells pretty decent. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sold listings in September. That's pretty good for what this is. A lot in August. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 copies sold in August. That's insane. These are loose copies. Somebody paid $15.99. It came with the manual. Not bad. Dang. Wow. Here's Zombie Nation. This game had a remake or a re-release, really. It was ported to the Nintendo Switch. I'm pretty sure it's an exact port. And probably the Nintendo Switch version is better if they added rewind features or save state features. Yet here it is on the NES. Still holding a very high value, $453 US. That's 636 Canadian dollars. Dipped down quite a bit from its previous highs and appears to have found what looks like a pretty clear floor right now. Building a support line right now for a game that has an alternative and better way to play it. And you can play it on modern consoles. Yet there's something magical about having that NES cart in your hand. That's why people are paying the money. I forgot to show you some games that are going down. So here's one. Mega Man 3 is slightly under the old high in 2015. So I'll give that previous commenter some credit because some games have actually come down in price. Although not by much on this one. Mega Man 4 is also slightly higher than the old high. 2016, $39.99. Currently trades around $36.22 USD. So it's come down ever so slightly when comparing it to the previous all-time high during that 2014-2018 era. Just showing you that I have not cherry-picked only games going up. It just so happens to be that most of the games went up. Here's Contra. This is a great one because it had a massive peak, $50 US just about in 2016. And that probably, 2016 for a lot of NES games, maybe that was peak demand at the time. People like me were actually buying Contras back then or building our NES collections. We mostly completed our NES collection, but we're still part of the demand side of the equation. And yeah, it's come down. It's $29.99 today. Still commanding a pretty strong value for a game that has an infinite number of ways to play this alternatively, including on the Nintendo Switch. Super Contra has done better than Contra value-wise. I won't show you Super Contra, but this one was a better way to show you that the price actually came down from that all-time high previously. But again, not by much. Because I was told that prices have dropped considerably. I'm not seeing that trend. I don't see that anywhere. It's not showing up anywhere in the data. Here's Rampage down a very sliver of an amount from that previous high. 1960 currently trades for 1811. Yeah, huge dip, buddy. That's a real big crash. Yeah, NES prices are definitely crashing. Here's Nightshade. So previous high during that old era, 28.95. Well, now it's 24.55. Wow, what a crash. Holy hell, this thing is really crashing. Is that what you consider consider to be a considerable dip in price? These are mostly all very common. They're all very common NES games too. Kid Icarus hit a peak of 26.17, currently 25.31. Big dip, my man. Big dip. If you think that's a crash, I can't help you. Hidden gem games like Silkworm continue to rise. There are plenty of hidden gems still getting discovered to this day on the NES. Plenty of hidden gems. People to this day do not know that Silkworm is a very fun two-player co-op game. And people are still buying it. All-time high on Silkworm yet again. Just recently. Do you think this 15-year trend, 16, 17, 20-year trend is going to continue? It's because of brokies like this guy. What is this, brokey number 6 now? I don't think I showed this guy earlier. Talking about the crash that a YouTuber told him about, backing it up with absolutely zero evidence, said, I hope so. I hope they crash. Now, some of us can get some of the more uncommon games like Silkworm, uncommon game. Not rare, but it's uncommon. Uncommon games without considering selling a kidney, a kid, or both. Now, there's more uncommon games worth a lot more than that. This is the reason the prices are not coming down. Too many people want to buy these games. Too many people know about the games. Everyone knows and is looking for hidden gems. That's why the price goes up. The market has weeded people like this guy out of the market in order to reach equilibrium. The reason I don't have Little Samson is because I don't have the money. I've been priced out by people with more money than me. This was supposed to be a 10-minute video. I think it turned into like an hour or more. Might have to edit this and cut out some content. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm definitely going to be getting some haters in the comments. Probably get some people unsubscribing. But I'm doing you a favor. When I teach you about this, I'm doing it for your own good. When I call you a retard, doing it to help you. I was once in your shoes too, buddy. I turned down Little Samson $100. I said, that's way too much money. Who would pay $100 for an NES game? You know, I've been there. I get it. But somebody has to tell you how it is. Because there's retards on YouTube not giving you all of the facts. They're just giving you an opinion because they see that it's cool and common. It's cool for YouTubers to make a video about selling their collection. So they think that translates to everybody selling their collection. Because, oh, look, I saw it on YouTube. Everybody's selling. Oh, the prices they're going to crash. They're going to crash because I saw that RGT85 sold his collection. I saw that some other guy sold his collection to Phoenix Resale. So the prices are crashing. I'm going to make a video about the prices coming down because nobody's collecting anymore. Well, that's why I come on here to tell you, to show you the opposite side of that. I got to give you a good slap across the face. Good old prison slap. Chocolate Thunder, dick in your face. Slap. Chocolate Thunder could knock a man out with one slap. "16 inches. hard as a rock. He could knock a man out. I seen him do it. Might have happened to me once or twice even. I sold up with that guy 6 years. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do have a Patreon. I post exclusive content. Please consider joining. It means a lot. And shout out to all of my existing Patreon supporters. Your support keeps this channel going. Guys, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Let's grow the channel to 4,000 subscribers. We're almost there. I'm going to have a 4,000 subscriber special coming out when we do get there, so stay tuned for that. Leave a comment below if you thought this video was informative, good, bad. You know, I'm all about constructive feedback. So if I should have cut this down to 5 minutes, you let me know in the comments.
In the 90s, the console wars were intense. Nintendo and Sega both with immense influence. From Super Mario to Sonic, the rivalry was real. Each fan defending their console with zeal. Through cartridges and discs, the battle ensued. Choose your side, pick your weapon of choice. Nintendo or Sega, listen to your inner voice. Button mashing high scores, the thrill of the fight. Console wars blazing, lighting up the night. Melodies to 16-bit graphics so bright. Nintendo's classics, so Sega's speed of light. From Donkey Kong to Streets of Rage, memories we hold dear. The golden era of gaming, nostalgia ever near. Friendships forged in pixels, alliances to defend. Choose your side, pick your weapon of choice. Nintendo or Sega, listen to your inner voice. Button mashing high scores, the thrill of the fight. Console wars blazing, lighting up the night. Choose your side, pick your weapon of choice. Nintendo or Sega, listen to your inner voice. Button mashing high scores, the thrill of the fight. Console wars blazing, lighting up the night.